Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Adoption Squad. We are your hosts. I am Mary.
And I'm Annie.
How's everyone doing?
I'm great. I'll answer for everyone.
Okay. As you should. And I bet you look fabulous. I do not. Thus, that's why I keep my camera off. I do. So if you've been listening to our prior episodes, you've heard quite a story so far, but this week our topic is making first contact.
Right. And leading into that is a little bit of your background, as we've discussed, regarding this search, because a couple of things came up in conversation with you off the camera, so to speak, that I did not know, which I found interesting. So you said that there was this detective friend or law enforcement friend who did a lot of the footwork. Mm-hmm. However, you had to feed him information first. And how did you get that information? Okay, so my adoptive sister did her adoption search first, and so I kind of had a roadmap of what to do. Luckily, because at that point in time, remember, there wasn't any internet, or at least if there was, it wasn't very efficient. It was the days of someone picks up the phone in your house and you're totally screwed. So I knew from that I had to send in a request to Family Services, and basically with a check for probably $100, which for me at the time was a ton of money, a ton. And I scraped it together and sent in this request. A few weeks later, I received a kind of like a paper packet, and I opened it up. Now, I'm just going to back up a second.
Sure.
That the request was for specifically, and I know the answer, it's non-identifying information.
Yes.
That you are, as an adoptee, you are permitted.
Right.
Permitted to find out if it was a closed adoption. You are allowed to request that packet of information. Right.
So I even used that language in my letter. Now, again, it was the late 90s. I'm about 25 years old, I think. And I get this envelope and I open it up and I'm so confused right off the bat, because there is a 3-page narrative with dates, basically talking about a woman who is in this hospital to give birth to this baby. And it's a story that she's telling the hospital staff all about herself, about the relationship with the birth father, her family background, the reasons that she is placing the child up for adoption. And I'm intrigued, but confused for one reason. The dates on this narrative were from the year 1966. Well, I wasn't born until 1973. So here I am.
They sent you the wrong person's info? Or?
Okay, so that was my thought. I thought, I just spent $100 of my hard-earned money, because I had a retail job at the time, and so a lot to come up with $100 and pay rent and everything else. So I'm immediately pissed off, and then I start reading it a little closer, and I sat down at my table and I'm looking, and I thought, well, maybe this woman had another child, and maybe they're getting us confused, or maybe we were born at the same hospital. I had all these questions.
But completely different years. Mm-hmm. So I would have thought completely wrong info.
Right.
You're sitting there kind of theorizing how this could possibly still be connected to you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So as I read on through the file, I'm thinking, okay, where's the connection? Where's the connection?
And did you find it?
I did. I didn't really upon first read, because I still was just a little bit confused by this. And of course, if you've read anything from the 60s or the 70s or even part of the 80s, sometimes it can be so confusing, and it's typed, very old school. It's just really strange. So I didn't really know what I was looking at the time. But they kind of screwed up this story, because it was supposed to be, again, non-identifying information.
Right.
And then in one sentence, they dropped the first name of my biological mother. They forgot to use the little whiteout.
That.
Yeah, they forgot to do, they forgot. So I knew her first name. And then on another document within the file, they did the same thing, but with her last name.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding. It was so crazy how this happened. So I call my sister and brother-in-law and tell them, hey, this is what happened, and this is what I'm looking at. Could it be that maybe I have a sibling out there, that this is about a sibling? So of course my brother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law now, but he took that name and basically went to work. So everything he did basically revolved around that name. And he even researched different middle initials, different middle names. He did so much work. But as it turned out, through her narrative, she had given her hometown, her parents' names.
Oh, so, my goodness.
Yes, there was a lot of information that I got. I got way more information than I think I was actually expecting. So it made my search very easy, at least for him. I'm just working my retail job at the mall. I'm not doing anything. And he's just coming back telling me, hey, this is what I found out. So I was very lucky to have that at that time. So he's able to go to her hometown. He took on an assignment or a job that was nearby and actually stopped by the library to look up her high school yearbook.
Oh, come on.
I am not kidding. So I have in my possession photos of her that he, copied from the yearbook, and yearbooks from back in the, now I have to do math. 50s.
Oh, don't bother with that.
I know. As human beings, we couldn't possibly figure this out, but I believe it was the 50s. She was athletic. She was the prom queen. She was part of some, academic groups. And so I'm looking at this person's face and I go, wow, I really do resemble this woman. I'm looking at her facial structure, her eyebrows, the shape of her eyes.
The way we look at these pictures, you are examining them with a fine-tooth comb.
Absolutely.
It's like, what part of me came from you?
Right, because to me, this was a 25-year-old mystery, and it's fine, a piece of it's being solved.
Yeah, but we haven't, the connection that we haven't quite made yet is you had information on someone who's born in a different year. How did you figure out that you were her child?
So that was a lot of legwork on my brother-in-law's part as well. That is basically a lot of records coming from that particular hospital, and basically piecing together that I was also born at that same hospital. It is a hospital that was constructed for the purpose of unwed mothers going there to have children. So when we piece it together, and every detail will bore people to tears, but when it was finally said and done, it was basically decided that she had given this interview when she was there in 1966, having her first child.
Okay.
Because I was born in another year, she didn't have to do that all over again. It's almost like you have an account and you can just go back anytime and they just kind of let you go, you know?
And they say, any updates?
No, yep.
Okay.
So my story was not part of that initial non-identifying information. All I have is what she told them back in 1966.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to say too much because I think it's going to dip too much into a future episode about siblings.
Oh, sure.
Right. But this week we're mainly focusing on how we made contact.
Right.
So this is interesting. So once we deciphered who this lady was, and I say this lady because to me, I guess I always considered a biological mother as someone who made a decision a long time ago, who I never wanted to swoop in and say, hey, change your life for me now. I'm coming back. You can't go into an adoption search with that mindset. People do make decisions. And to me, I always felt like she was entitled to whatever decision she made back when I was born. And I did not want to judge her for that at all. So I felt like if I got anything out of contacting her, great. But if I didn't, you know, what we say today, I guess, no harm, no foul. And I was going to, you know, pick myself up, dust myself off, and keep being me. So I had... Well,
it sounds like you had a healthy perspective, or healthy, or just that was your perspective, that you could go into this without rocking your world.
Right. Or hers. And it just was something that I thought, well, she might not be that receptive to something that she decided 25 years ago, you know, landing on her doorstep. So the first thing that happened was my brother-in-law and my sister, who was also adopted, she asked me, she was a stay-at-home mom at the time and really needed some other things to do at the time rather than, you know, watch SpongeBob or whatever with the kids. And so, you know, I'm working full time and she just said, hey, my story is kind of at a standstill. Can I help with yours? And I just kind of said, fine, do whatever. Well, she kind of went a little above and beyond and maybe further than I ever would. She reached out to this woman's brothers. Yes. Okay. We found out that my birth mother had 3 or 4 brothers, and I know that she spoke. My sister spoke to one of the brothers, and he said, yeah, I don't think my sister was ever pregnant. I think you have the wrong person.
Oh, so it was probably concealed from the family in some way?
Exactly. So when this came back to me, I said, you know what? You should probably stop.
That seems very invasive.
Yeah, I don't like that. I wouldn't like that if that were me and someone called and tried to say, hey, I think, So I know. I wasn't really crazy about that decision. I probably, and I wasn't very savvy on this whole thing at the time and just kind of
you wouldn't even know what guidelines to give her.
Exactly. You know, I had no idea.
At that time.
Yeah. So I guess the brother must have contacted her.
Oh, boy.
To say, you know, I was contacted by someone and I told them what I told them. And, but in the meantime,